Good morning. My name's Michelle Junkin, and I am the Associate Pastor of Spiritual Formation. And I just want to welcome you to our Lenten practice series. This flows out of our spiritual disciplines that Landon is lifting up on Sunday. And we'll spend time each Monday for 6 weeks to lean into our spiritual practices as another way to stay connected and focus on God during this Lenten season. Now, if you haven't received your devotional, this is something you can call the church office and ask for, because it is a wonderful way to, again, get into a daily practice of prayer and meditation and scripture reading. And for example, today we're going to use this also just as a reminder. You can commit to pray for those who wrote each section. So today, lift up Crystal Johnson because she wrote the entry that we have here today. So for today's spiritual exercise, this practice that we're going to lean into, you need to have a bowl or a cup and a piece of paper and matches, a pen. And if you don't feel comfortable burning something, then you can just tear the paper up, and then of course you don't need the other items. So a bowl, matches, pen, and paper. Let's begin. Spiritual practices can be things like prayer and meditation, fasting, worship, study. And when you find that the pace of life has caused you to drift, and that you realize that you are doing things your own way, often out of self-interest, or the hustle of what's going on in life has caused you to just be utterly distracted from God, and you realize that you are doing your own things, not what God asks of us, then those are the moments where we realize we are not centering on God. And this is something that humanity has wrestled with throughout the ages, and just know that you're not alone. So what we can do is take a spiritual practice that's a discipline that we put into daily practice, and we can use that to help refocus ourselves. And doing daily spiritual practices has many rewards, one of which is drawing closer to God. That's what many people feel. You might be more aware of God's presence around you. You might find that you are more patient just because you are reflecting every day, carving out time to practice a spiritual discipline. It can have huge rewards that you don't expect. So the challenge for Lent is that the next 6 weeks, try out some of these different spiritual practices, prayers, and different things that I'm going to teach you to deepen your Lenten experience of preparation as we journey towards Easter. And it is totally okay to not like every practice. But over the next 6 weeks, you might find a practice that you do like, and you can then incorporate that into your devotionals after Lent. Okay, so let's begin. These challenges are going to take 6 minutes or less. So they are something small that you can do. And we're going to be posting these at lunchtime on Monday, and then you can use them all week. And then we will take Sunday's sermon to teach us and launch our next spiritual practice. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to delve into trying out spiritual practices. And I want you to think about something that Thomas Merton once said. He said that the spiritual life is not something to be known and studied. It is to be lived. So the first thing I want you to do is take a moment and just meditate for a second. And I want you to reflect. What do you remember from the sermon about covenant? And I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath and focus on that word covenant, and try to remember what you recall from the sermon. Now, as I reflect, I remember that Landon lifted up covenant as orienting us as Christians to submit to others in actions, he said, of kindness and grace and forgiveness. And he asked us to consider how we live into this challenge daily with people that we know and that people that are important to us. So now, I also, upon reflecting and thinking, He lifted up that when things got heated, like in the scene of the movie, Landon talked about the river runs through it when the brothers get in a fight. How did you, when you reflect on that, when you think about that scene, how did you handle an argument or something that really frustrated you? Are there people that you have not mended those relationships with? So for this next part, you need a pen, paper, or a candle, match, and you're going to, sorry, my paper dropped. You are going to make a list. So I'm going to make a list of times when there was conflict or somebody that I distrusted. Maybe I had exasperation over something. Basically, what relationship is there conflict or tension? Where has division increased? I want you to try to take a moment to reflect on those points in your life, and you can either list the people or the events, and just take a moment to do that. Now you can do this every day during Lent. So if you want to just start with one, you can start with one. And then I want you to simply think about giving this back to God. Now you can tear the paper up and just throw it away, rip it into a whole bunch of shreds. Or you can burn it, giving it back to God. Now I'm going to be careful because I am in the church building and I don't want the alarm to go off. But you would just let that burn up, and as the flames consume that confession that you wrote, remember that God accepts your honesty. Examine your conscience. Give over your disagreements to God and ask for God to put a balm of healing on the hurting places in relationships and in your life. And now offer a prayer to God. And it can be very simple. Remember that those times when you're getting ready to pray, that God accepts our honesty, and then go into prayer. It can be a simple prayer like, Dear God, in times of disagreement, when things are getting heated, let me be a witness of a different way of being. Help me be a person that provokes love, and let me have patience to follow your leading to give good deeds to others, even in times of conflict, so that we might grow into whom you hope us and intend us to be. And then take a deep breath. Or maybe you give it over to God saying, God of mercy, in times of passionate disagreement or deep conflict, show me your way. If I am firm, let me be just. If I am strong, let me be loving and compassionate. If I think I am wise, let me listen and lead me into your way, O God. These practices are just something simple that you can do to help be aware and to live in and lean into a Lenten practice that lets you honor covenant. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the sermon, it's archived on our website. You can go and see that sermon and listen to the examples that Landon lifted up. And remember, if you haven't gotten your book, that you can call the front desk and we can get it for you. I look forward to seeing you next week as we learn another way to lean into Lent and practice in small ways things that will make a big impact in our lives through spiritual practices.